My name is David McLeod. I own a company called ArtStar. What we do is pretty much teaching artists how to market and promote themselves. That's the bottom line. I'm also an artist. I have several companies or several brands. As an artist, I'm known as Flavor Dave, and that's my brand, and that's what I go by when I create what I want to create. ArtStar is my business when it comes to this type of thing, helping artists market themselves. And I also own a third website where I do all of my professional graphics for businesses and corporations. And that's kind of what I want to get into tonight. The first subject that we're going to talk about is branding as an artist. Does everybody out there understand what branding is? Do you know the difference between your art and your brand? Does anybody know? Okay. Well, basically, your art is your art. Your brand basically is how you communicate with your target audience. It's everything from the verbal and the visual way that you interact with your artists. If you can, basically what I'm going to do, I'm not going to read the handouts verbatim, but I'm just going to skim over and we're going to, just have a conversation back and forth about branding. Your art is one thing, but the foundation and the business and possibly the person behind it needs to be defined, exposed, and promoted. And that's basically what branding is. And there's several aspects of branding. First of all, we're going to talk about the reasons to establish or redefine your brand. One of the biggest things is when you don't get enough business, or when you don't know where or how to sell, when you don't know where or what you want to do. Are you attracting the type of people you want to attract with your artwork? And you have to do some goal setting. So those are some of the first things that you need to do to establish or define your brand. And it requires you to answer some questions amongst yourselves. You have to ask yourself, what is your mission? What are the benefits and features of your art and services? What do your customers and prospects already think of your company? What qualities do you want to associate with your company, and what ideas do you want to convey, and which direction you want to go? And like myself, I had to, when I asked myself these things, I've learned that I had to separate my brand, because the type of artwork that I like to do is not necessarily what at that particular time wasn't necessarily. It wasn't fun for me. Basically, I had a degree in graphic design, and graphic design is where art meets market. So the first thing a graphic designer has to do when he or she meets a client is to research that client's business, research that target market that client is trying to appeal to. And so it's where, that there opened my eyes to, because I was doing illustrations, I was doing my own artwork, I was trying to get web design clients and logo clients and whatnot, and it was just too much. And I found that, the people who were asking for websites and logos were not the same people who necessarily like my illustrations and my paintings. So I had to figure out a way to kind of separate my brands. And so, Flavor Dave, the artwork that Flavor Dave does, is the type of stuff that I like to do personally. But what pays the mortgage and the car note and the water bill and all that is my other business, davidmcleod.biz, which is my logos and my websites, that type of client. And I sell work on both sides, but you for yourself have to define who your target market is, who your clients are, and then build your brand around that. And that's where these questions come into play. Like I said before, the two main aspects of any brand is the verbal and the visual. Basically, the verbal is how you communicate with your clients. And that's, literally talking one-on-one with clients and networking, and how you respond and react and how you behave pretty much on social networks. All of that is a part of your brand. I mean, you are the artist, your artwork is the product, but your brand should reflect not only your personality, but the personality of your artwork and everything you do. Because if you are on Facebook and you have a Facebook fan page, people know you as an artist, people are going to associate not only your art with that page, but you as a person. The way you talk, the way you speak, you know. I'm not going to say any names, but I see artists all the time on Facebook on their fan pages, you know, gripe about, you know, a lot of negative stuff and this, that, and other. 90% of what I post on Facebook is about art, because that's why, you know, my target market is there. Part of my target market is there, and I don't want to be known for anything else. I'm a positive person all around, so you're not going to see any negative posts from me on my Facebook page or any of my websites or fan pages or anything like that, because I realize that people are taking that in, and I'm building a perception, a public perception of myself. You know, so I don't want people to think I'm some angry artist or mad for some reason or this, that, and other. And I see a lot of artists make that mistake. And, you know, I'm just saying that not only your art speaks for yourself, but you speak for yourself. So that's pretty much the, go ahead.
Do you separate Flavor Dave from your other business? Or do you intertwine them, or do you just try to keep them
There
separate?
is some crossover. It just depends. A lot of people don't know that, you know, I'm the same person, and, you know, close friends do. But there is some overlap, not a whole lot. So, you know, and I pretty much, I figured that's worked for me, you know, because, you know, what I like to do is not necessarily what people necessarily want to buy for the business. So, you know, I think it's kind of twofold. Anytime anyone has an idea or want to ask us a question, just go ahead and chime in. My mouth is getting a little dry, so.
Okay, what was the name of that again? You said Flavor Dave?
Well, I'm building my current site, flavordave.biz, but I do have a website, davidmcleod.biz.
That was already established.
Yes, and actually, I've done a little work. I'm going to make some changes to it, so it's up, but it's still in progress. And that website's been up maybe about 3 or 4 years also. But my Flavor Dave website is still in the making. I just can't find time to complete it. But okay, so that was pretty much the verbal. The visual part of your brand. Now, there may be, you know, you have to decide. Like for me, when it comes to like my urban style artwork that I like to do, Flavor Dave is my brand. And there's a reason why I chose Flavor Dave rather than David McLeod. It's kind of synonymous with Flavor Flav, if anybody knows who he is. And I actually got that name Flavor Dave while I was in high school. And it kind of stuck. And it's easy to remember, and it kind of describes, you know, what I like to do, you know, the types of artwork that I like to do. And so, and it's spelled Flavavave. And so that's my brand. And so for you, you may want to, you know, find you know, a nickname or something, or use your own name. But whatever you decide to do, understand that it has to be a reflection of your artwork. You know, and you may not necessarily have a logo or need a logo. Your signature can be your logo.
Maybe just add flavor to it. Maybe Flavor J.
Hey, if you want to, that's up to you. If you want to, but understand that the visual and your brand has to be consistent across all boards, from your website to your social networks to your name. You need to use the same colors. Draw colors from the palette that you use in your artwork if you can't find the colors, and fonts and text. Everything from your printed media to your online social media or your visual brand needs to be consistent. You know, use the same fonts, use the same colors, use the same language, so that no matter where someone finds you or how someone finds you, that brand is consistent. Because when they find that first page, and when they go, say for instance, they find your website first and go along to your Facebook page, it needs to be related. Because if it looks completely different, if the artwork on there is completely different, the language on there is completely different, then for a split second they may be a little confused as to, you know, is this the same person? Is everybody